You're about to see how years of mismanagement and neglect have turned a one-time city jewel into an embarrassment. Our investigation begins with the story of this man, a city worker who almost lost his life serving the people of Detroit. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong city. 33-year-old Mark Roseman is a cable splicer for Detroit's public lighting department. He's heading into Detroit Rehabilitation Institute for another painful physical therapy session. He has severe burns on the upper part of his body. He's hurting inside and out.
I just want to get better, you know. This is summer, you know. We'll be out playing basketball or something, you know. I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to cry.
On June 5th, Roseman was down in this manhole at 6th and Lafayette splicing a 24,000-volt cable. The one he was fixing was de-energized, but several others in the manhole were still hot, and one of them suddenly exploded. An electrical explosion similar to this one caught on tape in Massachusetts.
Honestly, I just started calling Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Roseman's partner put a ladder down and called to him.
He said, if you can see this ladder, come on up, Mark. So I saw the ladder. I'm like, okay, well, I can still see. So I just started climbing up the ladder and got out.
Roseman was rushed to the hospital and stabilized. He's lucky to be alive. There's no question he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But his lawyer, Carl Edwards, says it could have been prevented. And that's why he's filed this lawsuit against the city.
This is planned obsolescence, Scott. This is no accident.
I'll tell you how neglect and mismanagement might have contributed to Mark Roseman's injuries in a minute. Right now, more about Detroit's public lighting department and why he was down in this manhole on that fateful day. A lot of the poles and wires lining city streets belong to Detroit's public lighting department. They supply power to streetlights, traffic signals, and public buildings. This is part of the system you don't see, an underground network of high-voltage cables stretching nearly 100 miles. These huge wires carry up to 24,000 volts to substations where the voltage is lowered and then distributed above ground. The high-voltage cables are spliced together in manholes spaced across the city. When one fails, guys like Mark Roseman climb down and splice in new pieces of cable. Roseman's attorney says cable failures are escalating at an alarming rate, now running around 25 a month.
You have a crisis.
Public lighting workers tell me the system is falling apart because of poor management, a lack of capital investment, and virtually no preventive maintenance.
It's really sad how bad it's getting there. And they're just not putting no money into it. They're really not.
You don't have to take Mark Roseman's word for it. Just drive around the city and look for yourself. Many, if not most, light poles are missing inspection covers, exposing energized wires. A lot of poles are so rusted they're falling over. Often the rusty stumps are left behind. Entire neighborhoods are in the dark for months, and so are heavily traveled streets like Connor and Outer Drive. Complaints about streetlight outages are at an all-time high.
Our city is dark. It's not safe for us, it's not safe for the kids, it's not safe for businesses. This is a major growing issue.
Below ground, things are shaky too. Brackets holding these high voltage cables in place are rusting away. This one is completely gone, leaving the cable unsupported. Here's one propped up with milk cartons. This puts stress on cable splices in a system that's 80 years old and poorly maintained.
What's going to happen? You're going to have more cable failures and explosions.
Then there's the issue of safety equipment. Guys who work in these manholes for public lighting have none. A flash blanket like this one could have saved Mark Roseman. When the blanket is wrapped around energized pipes, it contains the explosion. And workers are supposed to have tripods like this one, so they can be pulled out quickly in an emergency.
They have to be non-conductive lines because we go in an electric hole. You don't want something contacted and send a charge out to your partner. We've been asking for them for years.
According to Roseman's union leaders, DTE workers have tripods and flash blankets. If your guys are going down there without safety equipment, are they playing Russian roulette?
They're definitely putting themselves at risk if they're not going down there with the proper safety equipment. That is true.
These electrical explosions put the public at risk too. Shortly after Mark Roseman was hurt, this manhole exploded on Detroit's east side just as a pregnant woman was walking by. She was shaken but not hurt.
These cast iron manhole covers have been known to blow and lift an automobile. That's the kind of force or energy we're talking about.
Attorney Carl Edwards says he does want Roseman to be compensated for his injuries, but he also hopes the suit will force changes at public lighting. The city doesn't comment on lawsuits, but there's a lot more to this story than the lawsuit, and we've got plenty more to report. So I asked for a sit-down interview with Mayor Dave Bing to talk about the issues plaguing public lighting and how he plans to fix them. They won't give me the mayor, but promised an interview with Bing's Chief Operations Officer, Chris Brown, who's in charge of public lighting. Stay tuned. Scott Lewis, Channel 7 Action News.